It is being called TTIP, translation, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Daniel Ryntjes reports that the deal is ambitious and challenging.
American consumer spending may not be growing at the pace of emerging Asia, but it's still by far the biggest wallet on the planet. But European firms have to pay on average a 4% import tariff just to get their products into the country, and it cuts both ways for American firms wanting access to the lucrative European markets.
It is the big breakthrough agreement. It is the chance for the U.S. and Europe to establish the trading rules for the rest of this century.
EU and US officials are famously detail-orientated about their regulations. And the hope for this deal is also to standardize many health and safety rules in areas like auto and drug manufacture to reduce costs.
It's what one observer has called the tyranny of small differences. It's not that our cultures are so different or our objectives are so different, but we each have separate bureaucracies which have grown up to protect our values, and they do it slightly differently.
Trade deals are also tough because some industry sectors benefit from existing trade barriers and subsidies, particularly in farming and aircraft manufacturing.
Specific sectors in an economy which have traditionally existed behind high tariff barriers or non-tariff barriers and forms of protection, and those barriers get reduced, they can find that it's more difficult to compete.
If successful, TTIP could become a really big deal, representing nations encompassing almost half of the world's economic output. But there's still a long way to go before the if becomes a done. Daniel Ryntjes, CCTV, Washington.
Joining us to talk more about this potential deal is Bob Vastine. He's the former chairman of the Trade Advisory Committee for International Trade and Services. He is also currently a senior fellow at Georgetown's McDonough School of Business. Welcome to the show, first of all.
Thanks.
The United States and Europe already has a very good trading relation. So I don't want to underestimate what's going to be done, but I guess the question is what new big thing is going to get done between the United States and Europe, and what does it really mean?
Well, I think that's the very big question. I don't think that's very clear yet. The Europeans see this as a tremendously important agreement, I think, as your commentator just said. I think they are exaggerating that importance. They call it the biggest trade deal ever done. That's not true. That's just, I don't believe, true. So there is a lot of expectation that between the U.S. and the EU, a tremendous amount can be achieved, where a lot of folks see a very difficult road ahead.
The difficulties, please elaborate. What are going to be the key challenges facing really both sides?
Well, actually, it's a very critical issue is the question of regulation. The Europeans talk about the ability to harmonize. Big fans of this deal think that there's an ability to harmonize regulations between the U.S. and the EU, to make them similar. That is not going to happen. Both economies are based upon decades of entrenched regulatory ideas and laws and rules, and we're not going to change that in 2 short years.
Could there be a compromise?
There is an objective that's very important, and that is to have each side recognize the other's rules as valid and protective of the consumer interest and the public generally. And if we could achieve this mutual recognition of the adequacy of each other's regulations, I think that would be a very major step.
I'm not sure this is the right way to look at it, but I'm going to ask you anyways. The winners and losers. Are there countries that sort of win from this? I know you don't know the details of the deal as to the outcome yet, but are there countries that also could be a loser from this potential deal?
Well, I think in every deal like this, both parties win. There isn't really a loser. There are balances that have to be made. Some sectors, the banking sector, the agriculture sector, whatever, may get more than another, but at the end of the day, it has to balance, and both sides have to win in order to get the deals ratified by the Congress and by the European Parliament.
We're now in year number 2 of these discussions. What's a realistic time frame to get more progress, or are we expecting very small moves as each 6 months go by?
Well, there's not time for small moves. The deadline is supposed to be 2 years out, by the end of the Obama administration, by the end of the current regime in the European Commission. That leaves a tremendous amount of work to do. And frankly, some of the areas of most importance, like financial services regulation, are not clear. There are agencies that, like the Fed, maybe, that are resisting the idea that we should attempt to make these kinds of arrangements of commonality with the European Union. So that is really unclear.
The political fallback on not getting a deal done or getting a deal done is significant both for the Obama administration and for the various administrations within the European Union.
Well, I'd say it's bigger for the EU because I think the EU has overemphasized the importance of this deal. They've made it appear as though or seem as though this is the answer to the European economic crisis. I think this administration, our administration, has been very careful in framing this agreement. Ambitious, ambition, comprehensive, but they're not betting the bank on it. And they're fully aware and have made Congress fully aware that this is a rough road ahead.
Who's the biggest supporter of the deal within Europe? I mean, is it Germany, is it UK, and why would they be the biggest supporter?
Oh, well, they're the most powerful economies. They're the innovative economies, particularly Germany, the UK. UK is the biggest financial services market in the world. And they are our biggest trading partner. So we all have a stake in making this happen. It would be great to have it happen. But I think we should all be aware that it's a long road ahead.
Bob Vastine, great to have you here, Senior
Thank
Fellow
you.
at Georgetown McDonough School of Business. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.